All right, so I just started our broadcast, so this will be recorded as well as broadcasted. So we'll post a recording to this later for anybody who's not able to see it now. The demo that we're doing today is showing the end-to-end feature and changes that we developed for supporting two-week atomic updates immediately after the F23 GA release. So we're going to walk through the end-to-end tools, including the QA tooling that was developed, the internal tooling to actually do the release itself, and the customer website side of those changes as well. So we'll walk through those here. We'll be able to answer questions if anybody joins and wants to ask those directly. We also are in the Fedora meeting IRC that was included in the invite, and available for questions, of course, in the Fedora Relunch channel anytime after if you're watching this later. So I'm going to go ahead and hand off for the first portion of our demo, which is the tooling or the QA tooling that was written. And
Yep.
you ready to go ahead and get started with that?
Yep.
All right, I will mute my line. Go ahead.
Let me share my screen for that. It all started with the planning for the 2-weekly release cycle for Fedora Atomic. So AutoCloud was written to actually test Fedora cloud image builds on Koji. It basically works by listening for events on Fed message, and then it pushes all the it enqueues tasks in its internal queue, and then the tasks are executed, which are actually like tests run on the images, and then based on the results, we publish the results back again via Fed message, and we have got a dashboard where we display the results with the output and all. So this is so currently AutoCloud is hosted in apps.federaproject.org/autocloud, and here is our dashboard, which contains a list of tasks running. So yeah, we see certain, like a number of tasks which has been successful, and some tasks which has failed. And if we look for some output, so this is the output for a task which actually was successful, and this is the output for a task where actually the image never was able to boot up. This was due to an error, like in the background box getting started. And so we have got use a so all the events happening in AutoCloud are actually pushed to Fed message. So here in from data grabber, we can see the messages pushed from like AutoCloud, like the image getting queued, the tests, the images getting queued for testing, the images being tested, that is the running, like we update the status to running, and then the images after the tests are successful, it goes to success status. So these are the logs, the messages that are pushed to Fed message. So the tests that happen in AutoCloud actually help us like discover some bugs in some of the images. One example would be like we're able to discover a systemd vconsole setup related bug, and which was actually then reported, and this bug got later fixed. Plans are in the for the future are that like we are going to like have a mechanism to actually automatically file bug reports based on like test failures, but not all test failures can actually be treated as failure cases. So that's why there is another feature request for adding functionality for gating tests, like tests which fail, but they're not blocking for a blocker for a release. For example, like say a molecule application on an atomic host fails, but that is not actually a failure for the atomic host. So in those cases, it will not be a blocker for us. So this is is in our pipeline to actually add this feature. And AutoCloud runs all these tests using another tool called Tunir, which is a little bit kushal, and you can go through. So if you want to dig into the like testing framework for AutoCloud, you can go and have a look at like tunir.readydocs.org to get started with Tunir. Uh, that's mostly from my side. So do you have any questions for me?
And I know that there are some folks that are watching in YouTube, so we are in Fedora meeting 1 if there are any questions. I think the other thing worth noting, because I know that it's come up and been questioned recently, is how the strategy for this tool aligns with Taskatron. And other folks can comment if you want, but from my perspective, I know we have to develop a roadmap to actually consolidate our tooling into more of a centralized tool set, where Taskatron is where we're going to be focusing our energy. So getting a roadmap developed for how we get there is next on our plate, but this was something that we needed to get done quickly. So it was developed to get us what we need, the time frame that we needed it.
I'd like to mention one thing about like AutoCloud is that like it is lean and thin and simple. So it's easy to set up on anyone's machine. So me as a contributor who doesn't have a huge setup, I can easily set up on my laptop and like start testing images. So that's the flexibility I get with AutoCloud. Yes, the simplicity of it.
Cool. Okay, great. Well, thank you for walking through that. So I think the next piece of this is for Adam to walk through the actual release mechanics. Adam, are you there?
I am. Can everybody see my terminal?
Yep.
Okay, how's the font size?
It's lovely.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so in the diagram that was just shown, the next step in the pipeline is the release, and to make it extremely glamorous, we have a release script called push to weak atomic. We specify what release number we want to do and the key that we're going to use to sign the metadata, so that when the images go out, people can actually verify their checksums and then verify that the checksum file was in fact from the Fedora project. So this will just be run. And here it's actually going to go out and query the data grepper information that was just discussed, how the AutoCloud testing will actually input information into data grepper, and then we will query that. We will trim down from there and find out what the latest successful test scenario in the last 2 weeks has been for each of the artifacts that we're considering. We will also make sure that no manually marked bad images are making it in. So in the event something passes a set of tests but maybe has a security vulnerability, and that particular cloud image that was built contains a package that has that vulnerability that we don't want to ship, we can actually go in and inject actually, I can switch screen sharing really quick and just show that. Okay, can everybody see my web browser now?
Yep, we can get it. Yep.
Okay. So this is the Mark atomic bad. It's just a very simple Git repository hosted in Pagure. For those not familiar, Pagure is a Git forge hosted by Fedora, completely open source. You can do traditional clone, fork, pull request workflow. But anyways, so in here we're just in terms of trying to make this simple and quick, as Amanda previously mentioned about the timeline. We have this thing to where if you know an image is bad, you can create a pull request and tell us, hey, this needs to enter in. Then when the release script will run, it will check against this bad builds JSON and make sure that we don't get a bad build in. Then so that gets checked, and then we will go ahead and stage the content. We will sign the metadata. One thing I want to note about the signing metadata, you'll see here that it says already signed. The reason that we have to run this script by hand right now is because our signing process is a little legacy in nature, and we don't have a solution currently for automatic signing, and that's something that's also going to end up on our roadmap that we're going to get resolved. But this entire end-to-end pipeline will be turnkey as the end goal. But for right now, the script does check and make sure that we're not re-signing something that's already signed. So I ran this previously, so we're not sitting here watching me have to manually sign each one of these. So once it's signed, we will go ahead and synchronize the release content. We will submit messages to the Fed message bus, and we will also send out an email. There will be emails sent to a handful of folks, but I sent it to myself. Oh, why won't this zoom in? Okay. Just as a really quick, anybody's interested in what the email looks like, this email will go out to a handful of mailing lists. It will show the different artifacts that we are releasing, and then also where to get their checksum files and verify. The contents of this will kind of change as time goes on. We want to actually add more information here about specific packages that change as we get introspection into the different images and can actually do those kinds of comparisons. But for now, that's what it'll look like. And from there, I believe the information that we have will go to Ralph in the web form.
Just a minute to get my screen share. Okay, can everybody hear me, and can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Cool. So what you're looking at here is the getfedora.org, the Fedora website's Git repository. The way that the websites currently get built is they're for all Fedora project websites, they're static HTML sites that we then build with a cron job on a backend server on a regular basis, like every half an hour. And so in order to make this change possible, we had to add some code to the build process so that it would go out to data grepper and query for those fed messages that Adam's process is emitting. And so before I run the process, I just want to show a diff of what I have hacked in place right here. The first main thing is just that the current ID here I've set back to Fedora 22, and that's because the websites are currently staged for the Fedora 23 release to be happening in just a couple weeks. But we are doing the 2-week atomic stuff for Fedora 22 right now, so for this to work, this has to be set back. The second thing to notice is that I've commented out, or I've removed a whole bunch of the languages just to make the build process faster. Usually it takes about a whole minute to go through and chug through all the languages, but for demo purposes, we'll just do English. So to build the sites, you just run make in the directory like we do from cron, and then make test is just for local setup, which creates a local demo server. And see what it's going on and doing down here at the very bottom is it's going out to data grepper and getting information about the messages, and then it queries Koji packages directly to get an HTTP head of the actual image itself, and it uses that to figure out what size the file is, so it can then display the size of the file in the website. So you can see we're done here, and I'll load up the site. This is getfedora.org running on my box, and so we'll get to the atomic page here. And you can see we have text that represents the kind of latest information about this, and we see we have a dynamic message here that tells us just how old these images are that were produced 4 hours ago, according to Adam's run. We go down, we see that we have the QCal2 and raw images with their respective sizes here computed from Koji, like I was mentioning. And then even further down, we have, here we go, we have the AMIs for the images as they've been uploaded to AWS. One thing that we needed to cover with this was for the case of rollback, or not the case of rollback, but for when there's problems in our build process and we're unable to produce an image every 2 weeks. And so we have code that can handle that and show appropriate warning messages, but in order to simulate that, I'll edit the code here and say that we'll declare that the images are stale instead of if they're older than 14 days, i.e. 2 weeks, and we'll say if they're older than some very, very small amount of time. Save that, run the make process again. Wait for it. So if we reload this page, fingers crossed, here now it says the latest 2-week build did not meet our testing criteria. The images here are from over 4 hours ago. Oh my goodness. And then appropriate links to go and take people to look for announcements about what's going on or file bugs, etc. The last thing I'll say is just that this code exists and works and is in a branch in the Fedora websites repo. But let me get out of screen share. Actually, don't know how to do that. There we go. This exists in a branch, but it hasn't yet been merged into the mainline branch in the Fedora websites repo, and we're waiting until the Fedora 23 general release comes out in just a couple weeks, and then 2 weeks after that, we'll merge this in and do our first live to production version of all this. We hope to get it done ahead of time, but we didn't want to put an unnecessary amount of pressure on the websites team to be putting in a big change like this right before general release. So that's all I have. If you have any questions?
I assume the build process, a bit of echo there. I assume the build process has a mechanism so that if building the website blows up completely or something's down, that it would keep the existing content?
Yeah, that's correct. If data grepper's down, if Koji's down, then the build process will just fail, but we won't sync out a failed page to the proxies. It'll just keep the old content from the previous half-hour build there until new content can be created.
Okay, any other questions about the end-to-end here for what we have today? So I'll just throw in a couple of comments that are a little hand-wavy, but they're related to some of the future work that we're planning right now. So we don't have the full definition of exactly what we want to do ready yet. So there's only so much we can say at this point, but we know and acknowledge that the process that's here now is kludgy and suboptimal for a number of reasons. So during the F24 development period, we're going to be taking on a handful of precursor projects to get us ready to improve this process by a long stretch. So we'll be doing some work around signing, as Adam mentioned. We'll be doing some additional work that allows us to do things a little bit more intelligently and easily and internally. And as we do that, this script will certainly change and morph and become a lot easier for us to use and do better things. We're also right now working to get one more artifact in as part of these releases. And so as soon as we get that done, then we'll be shipping some additional content as well. So stay tuned for our designs going forward. We'll be sharing those as soon as we have that work ready and ready to share out. Are there any other questions or comments or anything else? Oh, sorry, I see a question now. This is probably for Ralph. How long does data grepper retain the message?
Forever right now. And we haven't yet, so we have like 35 million entries in that database, and it hasn't fallen over yet. At some point, we're probably going to have to introduce some sort of policy where we remove the most ancient of messages and move them to some sort of archive, but for now, it's forever.
Okay.
And Amanda, I just wanted to make a note. We were talking about kind of as this process gets more iterative towards improvement. I wanted to just kind of comment that one of the pieces of that is allowing this to be more iterative. Right now we're keying off nightly composes, and we want to actually be able to do that multiple times a day. So that's one of the pieces moving forward.
Yep. Anything else, guys? Nope. Okay. So one other comment I'll make. Many people who got invited to this demo are on our list of regular stakeholders that we want to keep engaged and continue conversations with about what we're doing going forward. And in order to improve that communication, we are going to be sharing this week the sketch of the working roadmap that we're pulling together as a team right now for the release-related tools. We have something posted to the Fedora Wiki, and I'll be sending out a link to that, as well as information about how to influence the roadmap and the priorities that we have. They're all flexible. It's nothing that's set in stone, but pretty soon we'll be getting to the point that we're committing to changes for F24. So we'll get that out in advance of making those commitments in case there's anything we need to adjust for. And really in the name of being as transparent as possible and getting as much feedback as we can. So if you have any suggestions based on what you see for what's on the list, or suggestions about how to be more communicative and more open and get more input from folks, certainly let me know, because that's our goal. So otherwise, thanks for joining, thanks for watching, and we'll have our next demo scheduled just as soon as we have something to show you, hopefully in 2 weeks. And we'll see you then.
Hey, Amanda.
Thanks, guys. Nope.
Sorry, I just wanted to point out one more thing. Just for the benefit of anybody watching, out in YouTube land after the fact, just to keep in mind that, everything we're doing here, all free and open source, and this is all published through our normal project sites. And if people are interested in the community and want to get involved in some of this work, any of this is susceptible to community assistance. So you can reach out for us on IRC through a channel like #Fedora-admin or #Fedora-releng, and we're always eager and interested to have help from folks.
Pretty please. All right, guys. Thanks again. I'm going to go ahead and drop the recording now.